Hello, here I'm going to tell you how to get your papers published in a good journal. I think of four main steps you need to follow to make your papers published in a good journal. The first step is to find the right journal. It's very important. And then you should carefully read all the guidelines to make sure that you format the manuscript as is required by the journal. And then you should submit the manuscript along with the other documents such as cover letter to the journal. The cover letter is very important as similar to the manuscript because you have to clearly explain to the editor about the significance of your work and how it can be fitted to the journal aims and scope. Okay, now we get into details of choosing the right journal. A journal is good to submit your manuscript if you find a strategic fit between the aims and scope of the journal and the research focus of your manuscript. If you find this strategic fit, you should consider the indexing and impact factor of the journal. It's very important that the journal is indexed in the main databases such as Web of Science and Scopus, and also have appropriate impact factor. An appropriate impact factor depends on the novelty of your research work in your field of research. A high impact factor, you may have a low chance of acceptance, but also a low impact factor, you may have low readership and also being cited fewer when your paper accepted in that journal. So the strategic target is very important to consider when you decide to submit your manuscript to that journal. Okay, let's practice this first step of finding an appropriate journal for publishing your manuscript in one of the world-reputed publishers such as Elsevier, Taylor and Francis, Springer Nature, and Wiley. There are so many other publishers. Herewith, I just mentioned these four as an example. For example, I try to publish a paper in one of the journals of Taylor and Francis. So I can find an appropriate place for my paper. That's, for example, in the area of engineering technology, civil and environmental engineering. I see many journals in this publisher. I pick one, for example, bioremediation journal, and carefully read the aims and scope of the journal and find other information about this journal through this menu. For example, about the abstracting and indexing. This journal is indexed in Scopus and also Thomson Reuters or Web of Science or in brief ISI. And find other information about the journal metrics like the impact factor, site source, and about the editorial board. If I find this place an appropriate journal for publishing my paper, I should go to the next step. That's instruction for others. Carefully read the instruction for others and prepare my manuscript and the next step. Before we get into details of the other step, I think that's better to try other publisher as well. The other publisher in this case, for example, can be Elsevier. You can try Journal Finder by typing the abstract of your manuscript or copy and pasting the abstract. You can find the journal. I already copied a research work of mine and I paste the abstract here to find an appropriate journal. So I see different journals in my case. You can find information about the journal like the impact factor, submission to first decision timeline, about the site source, about the journal that's a subscription based or open access. You can also filter the journal by impact factor from here, for example from 0 to 5 or from 5 to 10 or anything else. And then if you would like to gain more information about a specific journal, in this case for example food chemistry, you can visit the journal page. Okay, the second step is to carefully read instruction for others and format your manuscript accordingly to avoid unnecessary delay in the submission to publication process time. If you do not or your formatting check fails, the editorial team may return your manuscript back to the other, and you have a delay in resubmission, and also get your papers approved for the next step of being handled by the editor and then by the reviewers to be accepted for publication in the journal. So you have to carefully read the instruction for others to minimize this submission to publication time. Okay, let's practice the second step by considering the instruction for others of this journal. I go to this menu, and in this page I find any information about the formatting of my manuscript. That can be, for example, a research article, a technical note, short communication, invited reviews, book reviews, software reviews, or letters. About a research article, the manuscript has to be prepared in less than 10,000 words, and the abstract should not be more than 200 words. If I have a technical note, it should not be more than 4,000 words, and about the short communication, the manuscript should be less than 3,000 words. The structure of the manuscript has to be prepared of these sections: a title page, an abstract, keywords, and the main text. The main text should have this structure: introduction, material and method, results, discussion, acknowledgement, declaration of interest statement, references, and appendices. About the table and caption, figures, and figure captions, I can find the necessary information about how to prepare and how to cite in the manuscript in the following paragraphs. You can get into details of the formatting of each section through the information that's available in this web page. The third step of the process is to create an icon in the online submission system of the journal and complete all the digital forms. That's about including information about the authors, about the title page, about the contact information of the corresponding author, and some information about the funding sources of the research, about the other contributions. And some journal may ask you for information about the suggested reviewers. And after you filled out all the digital forms, you have to verify that the information are correct and submit the manuscript to the journal. Okay, let's practice the paper submission with an example. Suppose I'm trying to submit my manuscript to the Journal of Agile Research. I can try submit your article menu and go ahead with the submission process. If I've already submitted my manuscript to a journal and it was rejected, you can complete a transfer, or no, you withdraw your paper from one journal. You can transfer your manuscript from one journal to the other without any need to reformat the manuscript according to the instruction for others of this specific journal. Also, you should consider that not all journals have this transfer option. Journals in one publisher usually have this transfer option. Suppose as a new submission, I start a submission and I enter an email address, for example, Hamyar apply. If you have no account in the website of the journal, you need to register. So you should enter your name, family name, and give a password for your account, and then register and go to your portal for submitting your manuscript. If not, you have already created an account, so you can, for example, enter your account. In this case, I already created an account and I can enter the password and sign in to my account. From here, I can start a new submission. I accept and start a new submission. I have a research article, for example. If it's a correspondence or something else, you can tick the correct manuscript format or style or the article type that it is. And in this case, I click on research article and then save and continue. From here, I choose a file to upload. For example, if it's a manuscript, I can upload my manuscript here. and choose file type supplementary files. For example, if you have a graphical abstract, if you have response to reviewer, figure, and other information, you can upload and go to the next steps. For an example, I uploaded a manuscript draft and I have no supplementary file, and then save and continue to the next step. Before that, I have to upload a highlights cover letter. It's very important that you prepare your cover letter. Okay, as we see in the example, a cover letter is an essential document to proceed with your submission. But a good cover letter is a balance between the significance of your work and how it can be fitted to the journal profile. So it has three main parts. The first part of the cover letter is the hook, and second, the significance, and the third part is assurance. In the first part, you have to clearly state the title of the manuscript and how it fitted to the journal aims and scope. In few sentences, you can explain this, and then go to the significance of your work and explain to the editor how this work can fill the gap in the literature, and how it can be important for the other researchers or readers to study your article. And finally, you have to declare that this manuscript has not been published anywhere else or is not under review in any other journal. Now we consider this example cover letter that has three main parts. In the first part, I clearly stated the title of the manuscript and also give some information about the structure of the paper. In the next part, I talk about the significance of the research and how it can be important for the other researchers in the field. And finally, I declare that this manuscript has only been submitted to this journal, in this case, for example, the scientific report, and it's not under consideration or review in any other journal. And finally, I appreciate the editorial team for considering our manuscript. You have to know that you can prepare your own cover letter in your own words. You do not need to follow all the steps I have read in this example, but you should mention these main details. For example, about the literature gap, about how your research can be significant for the other researchers, about declaring that your manuscript is not under consideration or review in other journals. You have to consider these main points. And finally, I wish you luck in your submission and publication of your research article.